Hey guys, Veda number 16, and today I wanted to talk about something that's become rather important in the sort of YouTube gaming space, and I touched on this briefly before in my episode about Icarus, but today I want to talk about fair use and video games on specifically YouTube. Now, I'll preface this by stating something that should be blindingly obvious, that is that I am not a lawyer. However, I am not so much concerned with the legality of my opinions as much as I am the philosophy of them and how I think the legality should be. The first thing we need to look at when looking at fair use in games is something that's printed on every single PAL region video game since the dawn of the disc era. I mean, I'll just grab a random game from here. What's the first one I see? Dropship United Peace Force. Here we go. Recent game pickup. Picked this up just before Veda. I'm excited to get into it. It's one I've been, wanting to play since I was a kid. But if we open this up and we see the actually very nice little pilot-style manual, we see written on the disc, it says, just around the edge, for home use only, unauthorized. Jesus, this is hard to read. It's like black, white text on a blue background. This isn't very good. Okay, but for home use only, unauthorized copying, adaptation, renting, lending, distribution, extraction, resale, arcade use, charging for use, broadcast, public performance, and internet cable of any telecommunications transmission, access, or use of this product or trademark or copyright that forms the part of the product is prohibited. However, when considering this, you need to remember that a lot of things that companies write on things is not legally binding. A lot of end-user license agreements are not legally binding. Warranty stickers are not legally binding in many countries. Again, not a lawyer, but yeah, these are just facts that I've picked up. And so yeah, that's not necessarily correct. I mean, and then another thing, I have a Japanese game here. Slightly different warnings appear on Japanese games. This is Pingu. It's going to be a fun one to review one day. It's actually pretty interesting. There's no Japanese language on this disc. It's all in Newt Newt speak. It's pretty cool. But this one says unauthorized public performance, broadcasting, duplication, renting, resale of this video game software is prohibited. Now, of course, renting of video games and software being outright illegal in Japan, whereas in most other territories it is legal. Renting resale is prohibited. Reverse engineering of the program software is prohibited. Now, let's tackle the most obvious thing about this that gets in the way of potentially making a video about a game, be it a review, a let's play, whatever. Public performance is prohibited. Now, if you are reviewing a game, all of that goes out the window because it was criticism. You're allowed to use parts of a product to criticize it. For example, Angry Joe wants to make a review of a game. He is, well, at least anyone can agree that he should be able to show footage of the game. At least if it's his own footage, you can make an argument that a trailer is in itself a piece of art and therefore subject to copyright and permissions. So trailer reaction videos, not automatically legal, at least in my opinion, even though I got slammed with one of those in Veda last year. It's weirdly enough, I reacted with my friend to the new Yu-Gi-Oh trailer, and it got banned in more countries than there are that exist in the world, and yet that has way more views than most of that Veda, even though it was banned immediately, so that's a bit odd. Public performance. The most obvious form of public performance that comes to mind is a Let's Play, where you are playing the game. And personally, I think that this is grounds for a performative work, where you take a work and you transform it into something new, because you're adding a unique component which isn't necessarily reliant purely on the game, it's also reliant on you. It's similar to parody. Now parody, you also need to take it into critique, that's a different thing. That applies to any form of art. Where I think public performance comes into play, that a games maker legally should have the right to say no, is a long play. If you guys don't know what a long play is, a long play is basically a often non-commented or commentated track of someone playing a game, and it just shows them playing the game from beginning to end. Not necessarily in one video. I'd count any non-commentated let's play as a long play, and yeah, any non-commented long play is a let's play. But where I think this doesn't count, okay, let's just talk about why. Sorry, first, because at the end of the day, you are presenting the work regardless of monetization. Everything I say today here is regardless of monetization. I don't think that should be grounds for whether you're infringing or not. Sorry, Daddy Derek. But so you're presenting the work as it is. Like, a game as art is not the ones and zeros necessarily. It's also the content. And you are displaying this content outside of your initially purchased license to people who don't have a license. And that is all the content you're showing, so that should be. I don't think that this should apply to tutorials and guides, because they are in themselves they are a transformative work, because they are helping to inform a player about another piece of artwork. It would be like reprinting a photo in a book and then you know, critiquing it and saying about that and how you can get something that looks similar. It makes sense for that to be legal. And so that's also walkthroughs, guided walkthroughs. Silent walkthroughs, I think, would come under long play, so I don't think they do. And you can even put in like text annotation, so long as it's annotated in some way by either voice or text. I think that should be legal. Now, other forms of public performance, let's play, voiceover let's play, yeah, I think that should be legal, because that changes the work, it transforms the work to something that is unexperienceable and unprovidable by the developer in a way, showing off glitches and montages and stuff like that, as long as it doesn't show basically the entire game or a large stretch of that game, especially in story games. But I'm just going to say it's a blanket kind of rule, and yeah, that shouldn't be illegal. What other forms of forms on there on YouTube? Machinimas, obviously transformative there. However, then something does become muddy when you get into the realm of licenses. Now, there is no precedent, legal or otherwise, for the sale of licenses to use a game for anything other than its initial intended purpose of recreation. And that's why I take umbrage with the public performance part of it. It could be said that in order to create a transformative work, one might need to purchase a license to be able to record and then retransmit that footage that you took, because you used it, especially in the case of Machinima, as an animation software. Now, if it's a parody, then well, they're safe. And almost all Machinima is parody in one way or another. But yeah, so I think it'd be different if there was a precedent for license, but yeah. So, other forms of public performance, yeah, showing off glitches, yeah, that you can't legally stop them. That's both a critique and comedy. So there's another form of performance I wanted to talk about, and of course, review. As I said, yeah, that's definitely not that's not enforceable. However, I do think that, however, should a video game maker, someone who has made this video game, this is a product, this is their creative work, their outlet, they made it, they sell it, that is their business, that is their livelihood, it's a recognized profession, should they be able to receive royalties for being in a Let's Play? That's a pretty tricky one. I'm tempted to err on the side of yes. For a review, certainly, I think not, because that would hamper free speech. You don't want to do that, but that's something I'd really like to hear you about. Should a video game developer deserve royalties for using a game? Just as, like, if you use a piece of licensed music, if you do that properly, then you should be paying royalties per play, or some other agreement settled with an artist for that music or that movie footage. Now, of course, there's kind of de minimis, there's parody, and all these kind of things. But it's a real issue because a lot of people, especially now, what about video game music? If it's the game you're reviewing, yeah, this makes thematic sense, but you're still, unless you use it only in the video game footage, you're still using that artistically to bolster the aesthetics of your review. Should you be allowed to do that? Now, I have done that, but I have done that for the reasons that I have just said. I did it for purely aesthetic reasons. I didn't, it wasn't providing a critique, it wasn't an artistic statement. Should I have had to license that video game music to use it? And there is a part of me that wants to say yes to that, even though it would do nothing but hamper me. So, you know, that gives you an idea of my bias here, but yeah, that's just something to think about. So I realize I've raised a lot more questions in this video than I've answered. Now finally, well, not finally, but I also want to talk about how it says on this Pingu game that reverse engineering is illegal. Now I don't know if this is a Japanese exclusive warning that's put on these games, but I'm pretty sure reverse engineering of software is legal in the US. I know reverse engineering and stuff with copy protection is not, but I believe, you know, that you know, it was set pretty far back in like the 80s or the late 70s that reverse engineering of software is legal. So if you could write code from the ground up, or if you could make an experience from the ground up which was essentially the same as another, say you had Doom. Say you coded from scratch Doom. Okay, without looking at the source code or anything, you recoded from scratch Doom. It wasn't necessarily the same, it'd be very difficult to do so, but it was pretty much the same game, same experience, and levels are the same, some of the art assets were redrawn. Okay, we're not getting into trademarked characters here, but that would, I'm pretty sure, be legal in the US. Not a lawyer, but I don't know if that's different in Japan. I know rental laws are different in Japan. So, the long and the short of it is, I think that game reviews, anyone reviewing a game, there was no legal claim, I believe, to game footage. When it comes to Let's Play, it gets murkier, and then when it comes to video game music, it becomes even murkier. But a lot of gaming outlets understand. Now, Okay, so I think that's a much more interesting question. I think, should video game music carry royalties and licenses? And I think that any reasonably thinking person would say no. However, there is a right there, and rights need to be protected because it is a slippery slope. Hell, the slippery slope that we've been on for the past 20 years has led us to our current situation, where you know, someone could put up legitimate criticism of a movie or a game and be legally flagged and taken down and censored in some cases. In some cases, like, it has been blatantly clear that it's a censor. In some cases, it's just been money grabbing, like Nintendo's specifically. But yeah. So yeah, we need to protect these rights. But basically, I believe Let's Play has a precedent. I believe Long Play does not, because at the end of the day, these are works of art. Some of these works of art... Actually, I've just had an idea. Our video game... Okay, you've got paintings, right? You know, you've got your visual 2D art. Okay, that's pretty standard to look at, you know? You've got your movies, you've got installations, you've got sculpture, all that. Are there two different kinds of video games, kind of? Where the art is purely in the interaction, and another is maybe the mechanics, and another is an interactive component. And these are, in fact, well, they are multimedia, but are they? Can something be multi-game? I'm going down far too deep a rabbit hole here, but I think I've been a bit more rambly than I initially intended to be. I've kind of lost the plot a bit, but yeah. So initially, well, I'll close by saying, initially, when you buy a game, the legality, at least by the perspective of the copyright holder, be that the publisher, developer, whatever, is that you are purchasing not the physical game here, not the physical packaging and all that. That's just gravy, but you're purchasing the license to play the data on there, to utilize the data here in an authorized manner. However, I believe if that was legally binding and philosophically valid, then used bookshops would have been sued out of existence a long time ago. But then again, I shouldn't be referencing case law and that kind of thing, because that's against the point of what I'm saying. But yeah, so that's kind of an overview of my sort of philosophy when it comes to this. Does it mean that I'm going to stop using video game music in my thing because I can't afford to license it? No, so I guess I'm being quite hypocritical there. But I don't know, I want to stimulate some discussion on this. I feel like I really should have a second person with some of these to help me bounce it off, but I just don't really have access to someone who's interested in that at the time. They're all doing other stuff, so yeah. So let me hear your thoughts on video games and copyright and all the stuff going on YouTube, and your philosophies regarding how this should be tackled, how the laws should be rather than how they are. And I'll see you next time when we'll talk about, what are we talking about next time? I'll quickly see if I can very quickly check here. I've got a list. I'm going to be pre-recording a couple of these Vedas, so that's why you'll see me in the same clothes, same awful setup. Next couple videos, here we are. So what are we talking about? Yes, I think we'll be talking about violence and gore in video games and censorship thereof in terms of think of the children and all that kind of thing. Or maybe we won't, who knows. I just want to say I'm feeling a bit down on the whole Veda thing recently because I lost 2 subscribers over the last few days. I'm afraid it's because they think I'm spamming content that they didn't subscribe for. I hope it wasn't a Yu-Gi-Oh sub, but yeah, I'm just worried that these videos might be doing more harm than good. I mean, I've gained a lot of subscribers during Veda, but still. I'm going to try and get out some more structured content, some more interesting stuff. I've got a video of my next cosplay coming out, but yeah. So that was Veda number 16. Here's to maybe 14 more. Happy Easter, everybody.